edit as if I hadn't even paused the video. Right, okay, so what I just wanted to show here was how you can kind of stylize some cool little kind of table boxes or whatever, but yet it doesn't show that it's responsive. But either way, that's something that I'm sure I could overcome. Okay, so you've got this section here, which we call, well, it's a div class of its own called transbox, which is probably a mistake on my part, but you see it's a P class called French text. We can then go into French text, and again, there's some styling in there. What I wanted to do though was show this section here and these boxes and how you can kind of create a cool little box effect like so. So I've called this div class wrapper, and within this div there are 4 other different divs: item 1, item 2, item 3, and item 4. Now you can see that item 1 is just some text, item 2 is a picture, item 3 is an unordered list, and again item 4 is just some more text. To style this in my CSS, you have the full wrapper in there, and style the border, style the background color. I've given it an inset border, so it kind of like looks like this. It's a bit different, and you kind of, all you've got to define is what that color is, and what background color is, and that color will use it. From there it takes a shadow, color of the text. Within the wrapper though, you've got this cool kind of thing where you can create a grid, and within these you can put the amount of columns you've got in, the amount of rows that you want. But within this grid template area, you define how you want each area to look. So as you can see, I've then gone item 1, item 2, item 3, and item 4. I've given them the grid area of A, B, C, or D. You then change this up. So if I wanted, section B to be a little bit bigger, I would just put B in there, B in there. I don't really want to do that though at this minute in time, because, well, this is the effect that you end up getting, and it's quite actually simple to use. I've then just put in a thumb in there and used max height and width to make sure that it fits into the box. You could probably then align it a little bit better, and yeah, I thought that was quite a cool little bit. It looks quite, I'm sure, well, it doesn't look very nice. This whole website doesn't look very nice, but you understand the functionality of it. And again, one of the benefits, just quickly, of using sections in our HTML is the fact that when we set out the background pictures, like we have in section 2 down here, in section 2, we've defined what we want as a background picture. It actually creates like a parallax scrolling effect across the whole of the picture, which I think is really cool. Just quickly, again, before I forget, at the bottom of my CSS, I've included all of these separate, the overarching CSS styling for each of my sections in here. You can lump them all together in one if they share the same, if they all share the same kind of elements, or like same types of styling. I've done it separately. I think it's probably better to lump them as one and then just try and control individual elements. Alright, so moving on to section 3, but marketing, using, so here, this is something I took from W3 Schools. Again, it's kind of showing that you can just throw in stuff, and as a web designer, it makes your life a little bit easier by going and finding stuff that people have already programmed. In here, I've created a quick image gallery. It doesn't look very pretty, I'll admit that, but it's very easy to create a div with this name, put in the images, and I've remembered for each of our images, as you go through the website, you'll see I've put the alt tags on to make sure that speech readers and stuff like that can pick up what's required. But in here we've created 3 different we've created one image class called My Slides with 3 different images in there with their width. We've styled it in HTML at this point. There's then 2 separate buttons either side of the picture, and within a separate script line, we've put some, well, I have copied and pasted some JavaScript in there. When we then go to have a look in our CSS, you can see that we are able to change the styling of all the slides. And yeah, I'm not going to say that I know exactly how all of this works, but it's easily copied and pasted in. Okay, another thing, if we have a look at purchasing, is I have attempted to utilize some stuff around SVGs. Now, SVGs are vectors that are created within the code of a website, which means that they do not lose any quality, any resolution. You can make them as big as you want, and it's definitely an emerging technique to utilize these in the design of your website. Now, yeah, I know this doesn't look great, but I think it's pretty cool that we can bring it in, and it shows you, it started a good basis on my own knowledge and learning of what we can do. It's all within HTML at this point. Here you're talking, we are coloring the actual gradient of the, we've created an actual gradient called grad1 for the SVG elements that we're going to use, the ellipses that we're going to use. We've then, in here, as far as I can kind of gather, we create the ellipse called, well, this is R1. We create the ellipse, the size of the ellipse, the opacity of the ellipse, the fill, which is our grad1 linear gradient that we're using here. You can change the attributes and the values, how quickly it spins round, whether that repeats, the duration of it, whatever. And yeah, and then we have created kind of a copy of R1, the R1 ellipse, on different plots on the website, and again they rotate kind of different plots of the website. And I've put this in a separate unsemantic grid and given it a different name, so 65% of the width. I'm giving it an SVG name so that we can then go and style it in here. Just find it using Control F, my biggest savior. Yeah, so basically what I've done here is then just try to pad it either way, and then created another section here, grid 35.svg, and we'll see that that's down, that's here as well. And then again, I'm not going into it too much, but I've created another P class called button SVG, and what that does is pretty much exactly the same as what we were talking about up here. There's no different thing that's going on except that it wobbles. Hey. Again, we've got a parallax background, and then the final bit that I've popped in onto the very bottom of this index page is section 5, where I've created a panel, like a flip panel. What you'll see is, oh, look at that. Again, we've used some HTML to define the div here. When we then go into the style of our panel and flip, our panel and flip sections, we've styled them in there to look like that. So you can see the background, the inset, you've got some rounded corners on there. The panel looks a little bit different to what the flip looks like. It's 50 pixels wide, and 50 pixel panel, it's 400 pixels in height. And then in JavaScript, when you click on the section flip, panel uses the slide toggle and slowly slide toggles downwards. So I'm not the best at explaining exactly what's going on, but hopefully you can see and understand that there is a bit of functionality in this website. It is a little bit it does have rhyme and reason, and I'm quite proud of it. So there's a couple of things that I want to make sure we've gone over. We've gone over the unsemantic framework, which allows you to use classes to create a responsive layout. The jQuery library, so that we can utilize JavaScript. The harder parts are already written within the library, and we get to code. We code smaller parts and reference them, so that we don't have to do as much coding. Animate CSS. Obviously, we've seen quite a bit of that with stuff like that. Or let me just reload. So with our wobbling, we're using Animate CSS. We've got our scrolling website where each section has an ID, which makes it a lot easier to then reference and allows us to do cool little animations such as that. And smooth scrolling. So not only we use JavaScript again at that point to utilize smooth scrolling throughout the sections. We've styled the nav. We've been using stuff like hover. We've been using pseudo classes like before and after to create cool effects on here. Obviously, the sections are parallaxed as well, and our Pictonic social media icons are really cool, kind of lossless ways of using font faces in iconography. And also we've got this SVG animation going on here. So I think that's me done. I hope everything's cool, and yeah, nice one. Thanks very much.